So Deb, thanks for meeting with me today. I really want to talk about the course Introduction to Management and the way we might help students understand the topics and the overall intent of the course.
Yeah, so it's great to have an opportunity to do that, because as SIM students, the students are going to have an opportunity to talk to their lecturers, to be able to talk about a range of different topics. So to give an overview right now is a good idea.
And I think from feedback from previous semesters, it does help to have this kind of roadmap up front. So what we're going to talk about is actually three concepts. There's the idea of management and society, and the idea of managers and what they do, and eventually the concept of management and new ways of managing. So I guess starting with fundamentals, we talk about management in society, which is topic 2 of the course. And it's some fairly heavy issues like democracy, communism, capitalism, socialism, that are important background elements, but don't have a lot of contemporary focus, I guess, for students of your age at SIM.
That's right, and then we move into talking about scientific management and how do we work with productivity, efficiency. We talk about some of the experimentation that happened historically and what lessons that teaches us to be aware of, both to emulate but then to modify and improve.
Yeah, and I guess the main concept there is that of Taylorism, after Frederick Taylor, who invented or pioneered this work. And that's fine because, you know, scientists are very good at time and motion studies and looking at the minute work performance, but out of all of that came a sense that people felt alienated. When they're on a long factory line and they're just doing one tiny job for many, many hours, people lost their enthusiasm and motivation. So that led to the development of the human relations movement, which said that scientific management Taylorism is bad and we need to change things around. So we talk about that as a solid topic in the course.
Yeah, so then we moved into looking at some of the moral issues and the philosophy of management. And it took us into another way of examining some of the morals and the ethics and the overall frameworks that guide our practice. It doesn't seek to put a blame or a judgment around that, but to simply open the discussion so that students can explore their own values within these theories.
And I guess we're trying to get students to critique each other's ideas and indeed the ideas of the theorists, because if you're coming to university, you've really got to be critical about everything you learn and to reinterpret it through your own view of the world. So from that point, we move on to the concept of the notion of flexible work, and we call the topic skills and services. And the idea here is that we look at the way that workers are employed and the extent to which their employers can alter their work times. And a good example perhaps is that of flight attendants who may be required to spend a lot of time at work and then be laid off for quite a few days. So what is the impact of flexible work on both performance outcome and the employee's motivation?
And that leads us into revisiting human resources and the human resource movement, not from a historical point of view, but what is the care and the responsibility and the discharge of duty that managers have in contemporary society? Because as things change in the environment around globalisation, we've got a very different range of players on how people are treated within their workplaces, because the very nature of workplaces take on a very different meaning.
Yeah. So I hope we get out of that segment that there's some frameworks around human resources that we can follow and adopt. And then leading from that, what is this concept of the rise and decline of the salariat, which is quite a mouthful as a topic in the course. And really behind that is the notion that in the old days, everyone had a job for life. So whether you were motivated or performed well didn't really impact on your outcome. But these days, we don't believe that happens very many places in the world. So if you don't have a job for life, if you're constantly being performance evaluated, what does that mean for the way you work and what are the repercussions for the workplace generally?
That's right. We've really moved into an environment where the business and the workplace that we know it is no more, and anything can work as long as we've got the right infrastructure around it. And so the final part of our program of themes and topics is really about different models and what does the future look like. And so we're exploring the nature of entrepreneurial activity and entrepreneurship as a business model, and really wanting to stimulate students to think about what creativity and innovation they can bring, not just in terms of product, but the way they do business today.
And I guess the characteristics, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? And you know, and in Singapore, it's such a central focus for the world now that is there something special about the entrepreneurial characteristic or trait? And from that, we then jump to international business, which is quite a logical extension because a lot of companies today look beyond their national borders. And what does that mean in terms of responsibilities for an organisation, in terms of multinational companies doing the right thing by the societies they work within? And the other side of that is what extra skills do you require to work across boundaries and different cultures?
That's right, Ian, and I think one of the challenges for Singapore students is really the fact that the world's their oyster. They're so centrally located. There are going to be so many options for their future careers, and so it's not just being aware in this international business environment of cultural diversity. It's all the other different the variables that come into our business world about the way we do work, the time span that we do work in, and how do we build relationships when we are covering so many different entities with whom we develop those partnerships with.
And the final thing, and by no means the least important, is that notion of sustainability, because we're using more than we can replace in the world in terms of the environment and other resources. So what are the challenges for our students as budding managers, whether they're doing a management degree or an economics degree or an engineering degree? They're all, to some extent, making decisions about resource consumption. And throughout your learning as students, you really need to understand the impact of your decisions on sustainability.
That's right, and it's not just about using environmentally friendly products. It's about sustainable models of practice as well, and how are we going to not just replace what we use, but invest in our people and make sure that we are building for the future as well.
So that's an important point. Your notion of sustainability is not just physical elements. It's actually about the whole notion of work and the workers, and I think that's a really important concept to think through. So in this short segment, we've actually given students a kind of a short tour of the topics, and just to reinforce what we're trying to do is that this course is called Introduction to Management, so by nature it's going to cover just a very thin layer of a number of different topics, so it may appear at first to be a little bit disconnected or disjointed, but we hope by the end of the semester you will have thought through each of the topics, and each time you do, relate it back to you as a manager, you in a management role, and the overall concept of organisations and management.
That's right, Ian, and hopefully we've come from a bit of a historical base into looking at some of the structures that are going to support people in their management practice and thinking, and to finally some of the challenges for the future. And where does that leave our wonderful students in thinking about their prospective careers? And in all of this, what we're really trying to promote is that there's no one right answer. It is
indeed.
about how we apply great thinking and a great framework of ethics and responsibilities, both for now and the future, to this practice and this theory of management.
So let's see how they go this semester.
I look forward to it.
Thanks, Deb.